Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're examining a major development in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, one that carries consequences far beyond the battlefield. Ukraine has struck Russia's largest oil port, and what makes this event particularly significant is that none of the air defenses systems built to protect one of Russia's most valuable energy assets successfully prevented it. The attack interrupts supply chains, strains economic structures, and adds a new chapter to the evolving drone war now defining modern conflict. This event did not take place in isolation. It reflects patterns we've seen emerging over the past year. Ukraine expanding its strike capabilities, Russia adapting its defenses, and both sides attempting to control the domain of long-range precision warfare. But this specific strike stands out due to its scale, its timing, and its strategic importance. Russia's largest oil port is not just an industrial facility. It's a symbol of Russia's energy influence, a core pillar of its economy, and a key artery linking domestic production with global markets. As one of the most heavily defended energy sites, it represents a target traditionally considered difficult to reach. Yet, according to early assessments, Ukraine succeeded without facing effective resistance from Russian air defenses. That failure has sparked new debates about Russia's defensive readiness, Ukraine's technological progress, and the changing nature of infrastructure vulnerability in modern war. To understand why this strike matters, we need to place it in context. Since the beginning of the full-scale invasion in February 2022, Ukraine has gradually developed long-range capabilities using domestic drones, Western intelligence support, and evolving technologies. Russia, meanwhile, has invested in air defense systems such as Pantsir S-300, S-350, S-400, and electronic warfare units. For months, Russia claimed these systems could protect strategic facilities deep inside its territory. But reality on the ground has shown that no system is immune to adaptation, saturation, or strategic surprise. This latest strike highlights the approach Ukraine has increasingly adopted, hitting Russia's logistical backbone to reduce the resources available for the war effort. Energy infrastructure lies at the heart of that strategy. Oil refineries, depots, and ports provide fuel for vehicles, aircraft, tanks, and supply convoys. They also bring in export revenue that supports the Russian economy. Damaging such infrastructure sends a signal, not just to Russia, but to the global energy market. Though Ukraine rarely claims direct responsibility for attacks inside Russia, patterns in drone construction, targeting accuracy, and timing often reveal operational fingerprints. The strike on this major oil port fits that pattern. Based on available information, at least several drones approached at low altitudes, exploiting gaps in detection systems. Russian defense units failed to intercept them, which raises questions about preparedness, coordination, and the ability to respond to fast, evolving threats. Air defense failures can occur for many reasons. Sensors might miss small, low-flying drones. Electronic warfare units might be overstretched. Personnel might react too slowly. Sometimes, the drones are simply too many or too advanced. Ukraine's drones have become more sophisticated in range, guidance, and resilience. Some are designed to evade radar, others to withstand jamming, and many are built at relatively low cost. That combination poses challenges to even advanced defense systems. The strategic value of the targeted port is enormous. It moves millions of tons of oil annually, supports Russia's export economy, and acts as a central hub for maritime distribution. Striking such a site is not only a tactical event, but a geopolitical one. It affects international markets, investor confidence, and diplomatic calculations. Energy stability is a global concern, and any disruption, whether temporary or sustained, creates ripple effects far beyond regional borders. While military analysts focus on the accuracy and success of the strike, there's an equally important humanitarian dimension. Conflict always impacts civilians, whether through rising fuel prices, economic shifts, or safety concerns in neighboring regions. People living near major industrial facilities face additional anxieties when these sites become military targets. Communities fear accidents, environmental harm, or economic disruptions. Even when attacks avoid casualties, the psychological toll remains real. This strike also underscores the evolving nature of asymmetric warfare. Ukraine faces a larger military force with greater conventional resources, yet it continues to innovate in ways that challenge traditional advantages. Drones enable cost-effective pressure against distant, fortified targets. They allow Ukraine to impose costs on Russia without risking pilot lives. And while drones may not win wars alone, they reshape strategies and create new realities on the battlefield. Russia's reaction to the strike has centered on two main points: downplaying the extent of the damage and emphasizing efforts to improve air defense coverage. But reactions alone do not address the core issue: why defenses failed at a crucial site. This is prompting renewed scrutiny within Russian strategic circles. Oil ports are not easy to repair, and even temporary shutdowns complicate logistics. Each interruption can bottleneck fuel supplies that support military operations. Indirectly, this affects frontline units, supply chains, and the tempo of operations. Internationally, the strike has reignited discussions about escalation and proportionality. Nations supporting Ukraine continue to debate how far Ukraine should be allowed to strike inside Russia, while Russia accuses Western nations of enabling such operations. This dynamic is part of a broader geopolitical conversation about limits, deterrence, and the tools each side uses to pressure the other. Energy infrastructure, because of its global relevance, often becomes the focal point of these debates. From a historical perspective, attacks on oil facilities have often reshaped wars. During World War II, petroleum production was a prime target. In the Gulf War, oil fields were central to strategy. This latest event fits into that larger pattern, showing that energy remains a critical vulnerability in any conflict. The more reliant a nation is on energy exports, the more disruptive such strikes become. The global audience watching this conflict is left with important questions. How will Russia respond? Will Ukraine increase long-range strikes? Will the conflict push global energy prices upward? And perhaps most importantly, is there a path toward reducing hostilities that minimizes risk to civilians and lowers the chances of further escalation? One trend is clear: the Russia-Ukraine war is becoming increasingly shaped by technology. Drones, satellites, cyber tools, and artificial intelligence, enhanced targeting, are redefining military engagement. This strike represents not just an isolated event, but a symbol of the direction in which warfare is heading. Nations around the world are observing closely, adjusting doctrines, and preparing for a future where infrastructure is more vulnerable than ever. Another dimension worth noting is economic resilience. Russia's economy, though large, has been under strain from sanctions, supply chain limitations, and reduced access to Western technology. Each strike on energy infrastructure compounds these challenges. Maintenance becomes more difficult, repair timelines extend, and export stability weakens. All of this affects Russia's long-term economic outlook. On the Ukrainian side, these operations are part of a broader strategy to shape the conflict, influence negotiations, and maintain international engagement. Support from allies depends partly on demonstrating capability and agency. Successful strikes reinforce Ukraine's message that it can defend itself and exert pressure even without parity in conventional firepower. Meanwhile, humanitarian organizations continue to warn about the long-term consequences for civilians. Infrastructure damage anywhere in the conflict region affects ordinary lives. Prices rise, jobs become unstable, and uncertainty grows. As the war enters another year, many families on both sides hope for de-escalation, stability, and a chance to rebuild. That human perspective often gets overshadowed, but it remains central. This event also highlights an uncomfortable truth. Modern air defense systems face new challenges that many countries are not fully prepared for. Nations far from the conflict are studying these developments to improve their own defensive strategies. The lessons learned from this strike will likely influence global military planning for years to come. The strike on Russia's largest oil port will be remembered as more than a tactical event. It represents a turning point in Ukraine's long-range capabilities, a warning about infrastructure vulnerability, and a reminder of the broader ripple effects of the war. As the conflict continues, both sides are adapting, evolving, and recalibrating. Each new development shifts the balance in ways that are not always immediately visible but shape the trajectory of the war. For viewers following this conflict, staying informed is more important than ever. Global stability depends on understanding not just the battles, but the economic, humanitarian, and geopolitical dimensions that influence decision-making. This strike brings all those dimensions into focus. Thank you for watching and staying engaged. Your awareness contributes to a global understanding of the challenges faced by millions of people affected by conflict. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll continue to bring deeper analysis as events unfold.